Hi, everyone. Welcome to Community Connection of the Lehigh Valley. We are in 2021, a new year. A lot of the same barriers and stressors from 2020, but I think a lot of us are doing our best to move forward, to focus on the positives, to surround ourselves with those really healthy connections in our community. Hence community connection. So Mark, my co-host, joining me again in a new year. How are you?
Oh, well, I think I loved your introduction. I think it's something that we're all sharing and keeping in mind. And I really think I'm doing well. And I look forward into this new year to continue to share some of that wonderful information that we've been sharing in the Lehigh Valley. So, and yourself,
Absolutely.
Vicki.
One day at a time. I kind of feel like that's where everyone is at across the board, with the anxiety increase and lack of control over certain things that are happening.
Mhm.
I'm very much encouraging that mindfulness and meditation, being present right across the board, no matter what our
Mm,
situations are. Um, Take those deep breaths and one step at a time. So it's not
exactly.
any different for those of us who are counselors. We are in the same boat, dealing with the same things. So
Yes.
yes, practicing what we preach.
There you go. Excellent.
So before we introduce our guest and get into our topic, I'm just going to share our usual disclaimer, which if anyone who is listening or viewing this today, if you notice yourself really struggling with any level of depression, anxiety, racing thoughts, suicidal thoughts, just feeling like you're really struggling or surviving to get through the day, that's a pretty good sign that maybe you should reach out for some help. Counselor, pastor at your church, crisis worker, caseworker, the list goes on and on. So please do that. Even your PCP, your medical doctor, there are supports out there to help you. So please utilize those resources if you need them. So today's topic is teen dating violence awareness. Whew, I kind of feel like that's a mouthful. And our guest, Lisa Wilson from Turning Point, had shared with us that February is actually the awareness month for teen dating violence. So that is why we are choosing to start with recording this now. So we already have that information out for February. Can't believe the next month will be here in what, a week and a half already. So Lisa, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much, Vicki. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. We're super excited. We know you have a lot of information to get out to our community. So we're just going to dive right into the questions. Obviously, I introduced your name, but if you could just tell our viewers a little bit more about what your role is, organization Turning Point, just sharing a little bit more about what you do and what you guys offer.
So my name is Lisa Wilson. I'm an outreach educator advocate at Turning Point of Lehigh Valley. We are a nonprofit organization that has been here in Lehigh and Northampton counties for over 40 years now. I think it's almost 42. And our mission statement is to end domestic and intimate partner abuse in the Lehigh Valley through empowerment, education, and engagement.
Such a beautiful tagline. Can it be said any better than that? I always focus on that word empowerment. I love it. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So building on that, what services do you provide as an outreach community coordinator or educator? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we provide a ton of different services here that have kind of grown and expanded since our inception. And I feel like during the pandemic, we had a little bit more time in some ways. And so we were able to spend some of that time creating even more programs and
Okay.
new things that we have kind of up our sleeve right now. So we serve primarily individuals and families that are affected by domestic and intimate partner abuse. So all of our services are at no cost and are confidential to our survivors.
Mhm.
The first service I'd like to highlight is our 24/7 helpline, which is available at 610-437-3369. And this is kind of the connector to all of our other services. It's like our bridge. We have individual empowerment counseling and empowerment groups, an emergency safe house program, which I think those three, the helpline, the counseling, and the safe house, are kind of the main three that people are aware of with our services. But we've also recently added a transitional housing program. We also offer legal advocacy for survivors to provide assistance in navigating getting a protection from abuse order, or that PFA, or other kinds of legal concerns. So potentially, working with the criminal justice system or sometimes family court systems as well. We've partnered with North Penn Legal Services to provide legal representation to some of our clients who qualify for that as well. And last but not least, we have our outreach and our medical advocacy programs that ensure that the members of our community are aware of the programs that are available to them. So, for example, coming on here and talking about them. With respect to Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, I wanted to kind of highlight some of our youth-specific services as well. So
Great.
we have programs to assist teenagers or young people who may be either witnessing domestic and intimate partner abuse in their home or where they live, or who may be experiencing teen dating abuse themselves. And you may hear me kind of refer to teen dating abuse rather than teen dating violence. So we recently changed our mission statement and a few other things because we are so focused on empowerment and also spreading awareness and education. One of the things we wanted to highlight is that people typically think of physical violence when they think of domestic violence, or they think of teen dating violence, because we assume that violence is physical in the majority of situations. So we have changed the terminology that we use to refer to these phenomenon to domestic and intimate partner abuse and teen dating abuse. However, the national campaign is still called Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So we kind of, we needed to flip flop a little bit, use those hashtags to get the message out there. But in a perfect world, we would love to refer to these experiences as abuse related and not specifically violence oriented. So, tangent, but there's
very important to make that distinction. And sometimes that's with grassroots groups. They're the ones that are the innovators, and then the nationals catch up to what the community is doing. So go. No, I don't think that was wonderful. Thank you for explaining that.
That's our hope. Thanks, Mark. So there's individual counseling for youth available as well as for adults. And this is open to young people who are actually school aged. So can be, typically around age 5 up to age 18, where they can receive one-on-one counseling at no cost, no need to go through insurance, anything like that. A youth empowerment group, which is similar to a support group, which is, again, it's virtual at this time. So as well as the individual counseling. We also can provide legal advocacy to teenagers and young people as well. And all of these services are at no cost. So we really hope that eliminates some of those barriers that people are experiencing, especially now in COVID. And also with young people just generally not being as mobile, right? Not being able to arrange their own transportation someplace, having to rely on other people for that. So we hope that we are able to access more of the teenagers who are requiring these services that way, and help to kind of get them started in these kinds of programs and receiving these services. So one quick thing to mention about our services as well. So we are mandated reporters and are required to report those instances of child abuse. However, teen dating abuse and in a number of different situations does not actually fall under child abuse reporting guidelines. And so we want to share that information to encourage young people to come forward about their experiences. A lot of them are very afraid that if they disclose something that's going on, it's going to change a lot of things in their life very quickly. And we want to kind of provide some assurances that we really are there to listen to young people and their situations and not to intervene unless, of course, we need to. We just want to talk about what's going on. We want to help people feel safe in their relationships, outside of their relationships, and help them to develop and achieve the goals that they would like to related to their relationships.
That's so much good information. I don't even know where to start. I have like 15 comments that I want to make on like every point you brought up. Just a few things, but I love that the fact that it's no cost. One of the barriers that I often hear from individuals who are seeking counseling is, I can't afford it. High deductible, high copay. I'm not making enough income, but I really need it. So the fact that you guys have removed that barrier for such a serious topic, and with COVID, with the lockdown, I think for a lot of people, for a lot of therapists, our number one fear was, oh my gosh, people are now going to be expected to be inside their home with their abusers. And we have seen that and have heard that the abuse has seriously gone up since the lockdown and COVID, which of course is very sad and scary for multiple reasons. So Turning Point is absolutely such an asset for our community. We cannot be more thankful for having your services available.
Thank you.
That's all I wanted to say about that.
Thank you. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
also, I didn't realize that you offered counseling for children so young. I always just assumed, and I've known of Turning Point for a very long time and interacted with staff, but for whatever reason, I just never realized that it was for young children. So I really appreciate that you brought up that as well. I think a lot of people assume it's just for the adults getting out of those kind of relationships, or for the teenagers, but not necessarily including the young children as well. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, one of the things that we noticed that caused us to start that program was that, we accept all people into our safe house, and that includes children. So if we have somebody who is an adult survivor of domestic and intimate partner abuse who's using our shelter services, we have lights on timers.
Darn those lights. Yeah, it's okay. We can still see you if that helps. Do you need to
There we go.
down for a second? That's all right.
Yeah, the screen light will help a little bit with that.
It's okay.
But we had children coming into our safe house, and really, the services that we had were oriented towards assisting the adults. And so there was that service gap. And now it's filled. We really want to make sure that we're providing trauma-informed care to children to help mitigate those experiences that they are either witnessing or experiencing themselves, and do it in conjunction with the services that their parent or guardian are receiving as well.
And I like the piece you're saying about the witnessing. So it's not necessarily people who are actually in these type of relations, but if you're witness, and that's a nice addition to that. I was just from a developmental perspective, are there specific things about teens? I know we're going to get more into the steps and things, but are there special focus or things that you keep in mind around teens in abusive relationships as opposed to adults that you see unique to this population?
So many things. I have been doing this work here at Turning Point for just over a year, and in that space, as you can imagine, getting started and then COVID hitting, there's been a lot of changes and gaps in what we're able to do. But the young people that I have gotten to know and speak with have really provided me with a lot of insight on that. I mean, Vicki was speaking about people being stuck at home at the beginning of the pandemic, and still now to a certain extent. And one of the things that we noticed with teenagers in relationships is that there was almost this like brief period of time where there was some sort of a respite for them, where the complete opposite of the adult experiences is that they were now separated from these harmful, toxic, abusive relationships because they were home. They were not interacting with people in school settings. So the thing that we have tuned into a little bit and are really trying to raise awareness for and spread information about specifically relates to technology, because now that they are no longer seeing each other in person, there's a lot more pressure to communicate virtually and to be in constant contact and to share their location with other people and to share passwords for social media accounts and, a number of these things that either, maybe they hadn't experienced before when their partner felt they could control them in person, to now, sometimes being encouraged to break quarantine and put themselves or their families at risk because of their partner feeling like they need to have that control over them and bring them closer to them. So, I mean, that's just COVID specific. I mean, developmentally in general, there's just so many things. And it's also so hard to keep up with, I feel like. I feel like I'm learning new things every single time I am on a Zoom call with them. In the ways that dating and relationships have changed for younger people in just the past few years. And, also having greater access to information. I mean, a lot of these kids, they really know some of the terms that we would teach and we know to communicate about the issues that we see. And they're able to use those terms to describe what's going on for them. And so it's a really interesting dynamic. I really enjoy working with them.
I can see that. Yeah, go ahead, Vicky.
No, I was just going to say that's wonderful. I mean, I'd like to think most of the people who are in this field, it's very much a passion and a purpose for us, to be able to help individuals. And it's not working with teens. It's not an easy population to work with. I mean, they're trying to find themselves and figure out who they are. And then if you're dealing with abuse and other things on top of that, that's a lot to try to help them navigate at one time. So once again, thank you for all you do. That's amazing work right there.
Thank you. I love it.
Sure. So it probably goes without saying, but why is teen dating violence awareness so important? I mean, is it just, for the purpose of getting all that information out there and educating people, or is it more than that?
Well, it's a couple things. I really thought it was clever that February was Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month to coincide with Valentine's Day. I mean, I think that it's a wonderful time for us to be sharing information with kids about what relationships can look like, healthy relationships can look like. So, I mean, kids across the Lehigh Valley, they need to be getting this information. And I know I'll get systemic for about 5 seconds, but the school systems may or may not have the same guidelines for how they talk about relationships or how they talk about other kinds of wellness related topics. And so we really want to make sure that clear and consistent messaging is able to reach as many young people across the Lehigh Valley as possible. But also because kids get like so much weird relationship messaging in general from so many different sources, from media, from parents, from friends, from schools, from, all of these different influences. So we really want them to know what to do if they feel like they're in a toxic, unhealthy, or abusive relationship. And also, Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month is really out there to let people know that they're not alone. The most recent statistic that we have is that 1 in 3 teenagers will experience teen dating abuse. And the implications for that are fairly intense. So, we really want to get as much information out there and as many resources and next steps as possible as well. So it's not just, hey, here's the information. Now you know. It's here's the information and here's how you recognize it, respond to it, refer for it. Here's where you can go to help a friend. All of those different kinds of resources.
Those specific details I think are really necessary, because I think for any of us, no matter what concern we are looking into, there can be so much information, almost too much information, that it's overwhelming and you don't know where to start. So you don't start. You just remain stuck. So I love how you said like it's educating, it's resources, and then it's steps of what, because we need those baby steps. The big picture looks, it's too scary. It's, you know, so just start with this one step to move forward to a healthier relationship. So that's great. I love that.
Thank you.
To follow up with that, are there any specific events that are occurring in February to promote this information and to support our community?
We got a few things coming down the pike for February, and even more that we're still working on despite being a week away. But one of the things that came out of the pandemic was the creation of a youth-led advocacy program called the Youth Empowerment Alliance.
Ooh.
That is tasked with spreading the word about healthy relationships across social media. Right now, we're pretty focused on Instagram. Seems to be the most, or I guess the easiest way to, to communicate with young people these days. But that account on Instagram is at TPLVYEA, or Turning Point of Lehigh Valley Youth Empowerment Alliance. And our agency Instagram account is at Turning Point LV. So throughout the month of February, we have a couple of different campaigns planned. Every Tuesday on our main account for the organization as a whole, we are going to be doing Teen Takeover Tuesdays, where we have posts that are created by the participants in the Youth Empowerment Alliance featured on our main Instagram page. And then every day in February, we're going to be sharing bits and pieces of information about healthy relationships and warning signs of abuse on the TPLVYEA Instagram account. There's also going to be, for the 4 Tuesdays in February on the youth account, there's going to be a Q&A where people can chat in through the Instagram story feature and ask their questions about relationships to be answered by the peer educators and advocates at Turning Point. We've also got a social media campaign in the works called the Orange Hearts campaign, which is for folks to be able to put a orange heart emoji in their Instagram bio with the hashtag TDVAM. I think just that hashtag. But that way, you know, people can take a look, and if they see that and they're curious, they can click the hashtag and can learn some more information about it. We're also sharing information for our community members to get involved, whether they're in workplaces, schools, faith-based organizations, other community organizations. So on February 10th, there is actually going to be a Zoom webinar that's open to staff and faculty in schools across the Lehigh Valley to learn about recognizing, responding, and referring for teen dating abuse. So that is it's a great next step to take. Speaking of next steps, if you are passionate about this idea of preventing teen dating abuse and want to get involved a little bit more, I don't know if we'd be able to put that registration link in the.
Is that, so that event, February 10th, is only for individuals who work in school districts?
So that specific event, we're focusing it for teachers. Yeah.
Okay.
We want to talk about those school systems and talk a little bit about those kinds of boundaries that kids are dealing with right now in virtual environments and how to spot warning signs if it's virtual.
Great.
So you're wondering if we can put this into maybe the recording of the YouTube for you, if we can?
Yeah, even like we can put a link or something in the description of the video, maybe that people can click on to register for that.
Yeah, you can send that to me. That's amazing. Like, honestly, I didn't expect you to have that long of a list. I thought like, oh, there's probably like 1 or 2 things coming up and you're like firing them off. And like, that's amazing. And that Youth Empowerment Alliance, just like going back to that, once again, like I'm all about empowerment, and I feel like by speaking up, by providing kids and teens and anyone for that matter, the opportunity to have their voice heard and to speak up, that is where the empowerment comes from. Like knowing that you do have a voice and people are going to listen to you and it's going to matter, that you matter. it's such good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm really proud of them and for stepping up. And, we have a lot of students across the Lehigh Valley. I mean, just the fact that we serve Lehigh and Northampton counties, that is nearly 89 high schools and middle schools, I think that I
Wow,
counted
really?
Wow.
recently, maybe more.
That's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of our loftier goals is to try to get representation from each of the schools where there's, at least one student representative that they could seek out in
Oh,
their
wow. That's
school.
cool.
And right now we are just getting started, but we have 8 school districts represented, or I'm sorry, 8 high schools, 7 high schools and 1 middle school represented in our group. So
Wow. Great.
I'm really excited about continuing that, expanding that, and getting more people out to be a resource for their peers and be able to help advocate for them in healthy relationships.
Have you guys like reached out directly to each one, like the principals of each one of those schools, and just made them aware, like, this is what we're offering if you would like to be involved? Is that how you go about doing that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do it in several different ways. We are, advertising on social media to the students themselves
Okay.
to let them know. We have reached out to guidance counselors and health teachers and also principals and some superintendents as well. So we're hoping that they are going to be able to, be aware of that information and can reach out to.
Hopefully, I mean, that's a good start. Hopefully, as time goes on, they will recognize. I feel like school districts in general are really starting to understand the huge importance of mental health awareness and so on and so forth. So I'm
Well, and
hopeful that they'll be reaching out to you.
There's a big push, right now that's kind of twofold. One being trauma-informed schools through, working with Resilient Lehigh Valley. And also there's actually a bill that's in the Senate in Pennsylvania to require teen dating abuse education in every school. And with those two things in mind, understanding that these schools are really trying to push forward in this trauma-informed manner, that let's partner now, right? Like, let's get started, let's get in there, let's start talking to the kids and start making some change, before it's mandated, right? It's mandated. Oh, well, we don't have to do anything. We're already here.
Right. You're already sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can share that Senate bill number also when you communicate with Vicki,
Okay.
because there might be some people in the community who'd be willing to, support, know that that's there and provide that support to our elected officials. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm taking so many notes. I need like an extra page over here.
Oh, wow.
So, before you were saying about steps, right? Steps that these teens or individuals can reach out for help. What are some of those specific steps? And it might be a little redundant from what you've already said, but honestly, it's better to hear it twice than not hear it at all. What are some of the steps you recommend to start with?
So first and foremost, we always want to do some safety planning. So regardless of where you're at in terms of like wanting to leave the relationship or not wanting to leave the relationship, the first priority is always staying safe. So we can also help with that here at Turning Point. And that's also something that can be accessed individually by people who are looking for that information. So if you were to just Google like teen safety planning, there's some really cool pieces of information out there from pretty reputable sources like loveisrespect.org or breakthecycle.org that have little guides that can be checked out. So, we always say trying to stay safe, whatever that might look like for you. And if you need some help in getting started with that, if you are unsure of where to go, and if you're unsure about a number of different things, reaching out to our 24/7 helpline is going to be that way to get connected with somebody who can talk to you about that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And what if it's somebody like you were talking about earlier? Sometimes it could be a friend or a relative. How can they seek assistance if they're a witness of an abusive relationship? of a loved one or a friend?
So if there is a young person who is experiencing that in their home or is concerned about that, they can also reach out to our 24/7 helpline. Our counseling services are open to significant others of people who have been experiencing abuse. So all you'd have to do is just pick up that phone, give us a call. We're literally there 24/7, 365.
Mhm.
And let somebody know, hey, I'm interested in talking to somebody about my experiences, and
Mhm.
they'll take some information from you. And again, everything we do is confidential. So
Okay.
we'll collect some confidential information and get you set up with a virtual appointment for a counselor.
Mhm. Mhm.
Are there any other connections in the community? Obviously, based on what you're sharing, Turning Point offers a whole lot of amazing things, which is wonderful. But any other organizations, groups, connections that you would recommend to also look into?
Yeah, so we've actually been partnering a lot lately with a number of different wonderful community organizations that we are so excited about. And a few of those that I would like to kind of name drop would be Valley Youth House. They're helping us to put together that presentation and webinar to educators in a few weeks. And Crime Victims Council,
Mhm.
where I feel like often we're kind of two halves of the same stone. They work with sexual assault and we work with teen dating abuse. And often we intertwine in a lot of ways. So we're working with them and Valley Youth House and also Project Silk a lot to work with LGBTQ plus youth.
Mm.
Oh, and communities and schools as well. Communities and
Oh,
schools has been a great
fantastic.
ally. Yeah, we have loved working with them. don't want to exclude them.
Yeah, we had them on as one of our
Oh,
guests
great.
in 2020, so we're familiar with them. That's wonderful.
Yeah, they have been wonderful. And, one of the things that we offer as another, youth service is a curriculum for middle schoolers and for high school students. And so right now we have been able to partner with a lot of middle schools to bring that curriculum to them because of the support of communities and schools. So we're really grateful for them.
So that would actually be included in like their health class or like a class that they're already expected to take. Is that what you mean by curriculum?
So it's a 5-week session. It's an
Okay.
evidence-based, I say curriculum, it's like 5 sessions that talk about a number of different topics related to healthy relationships, including like gender stereotypes, media messages, being a positive bystander, things like that. And it's a fairly flexible 5-session group curriculum, whatever you would like to call it there. And so we actually implement that with students who are receiving services from communities and schools, their site coordinators and other people like that. So we've done one group on lunchtime, they bring their lunch and we have a blast just talking about a bunch of stuff.
That's great.
We've done it virtually over lunch, or we've done it virtually on a day when they're in asynchronous learning. So, we're really trying to be flexible about that.
I'm just wondering, is that something you feel that you would continue doing even when we return back to a in-person world? How's your agency finding the use of this in terms of engaging teenagers?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, every service that we now offer virtually began in person. So we have the ability to do practically everything, either virtually or in person. We have had success in both areas. So we are excited to kind of find out what works best for the students. And, things like the Youth Empowerment Alliance, we have, again, 8 students from 8 different schools. So it might make the most sense for us to remain virtual and maybe get together once every few months or something in person. But I'm really a fan of whatever supports them in in their needs and also is accessible to them.
Yeah, and sort of meeting them in their world where it
Yeah.
makes sense for them. Yeah, no, it sounds like, you know, a lot exciting opportunities as you go forward for how you're reaching out and connecting. So wonderful.
Yeah.
As a way
Thank you.
to kind of end the episode, can you share that hotline number one more time, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is it's 24/7, 365, and it's at 610-437-3369.
Okay, great. Any other, I know you had shared the Instagram account. I'm assuming you guys are also on Facebook. Are there any other social media platforms that people could connect to for more information?
Yeah, we actually have like a person account on LinkedIn, so you can friend Turning Point
Great.
on LinkedIn and get some information that way as well. And also our website is kind of our go-to for everything. You can see an annual report there. You can see the application form for the Youth Empowerment Alliance. You
Great.
can see all of the resources for each year for the Domestic Violence Awareness Month and Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Everything is going to be available on the website.
And is that
It's
just
undergoing a few changes, but
is that just turningpoint.org, or what's the website?
it is turningpointlv.org.
Okay.
I just have to put a plug in that Vicki, our campus LinkedIn page at the sales for our master's program is connected to Turning Point. So we do get Turning
Oh,
Point announcements on our LinkedIn page that we have over 100 students and alumni on our page.
wonderful.
In the Valley.
It's
So
great to
yes,
hear.
it's a great resource. That is, you are reaching out in places maybe you don't realize that you're connecting. So I just wanted to share that.
That's great. Thank you,
That's
Mark.
lovely. Wonderful. Lisa, this has been amazing. Great way to start off 2021 with getting this information out there for our community. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Is there any, are there any last thoughts or anything that you would like to share? No pressure.
Thank you to everybody for your support. Thank you to Vicki and Mark for having us here. And, you know, if anybody has any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. Mark, anything you would like to add?
No, I just think, well, wealth of information. Wonderful to know that we have this organization and its connections to other organizations and partnerships. And it sounds like you're going to have an excellent program for the awareness project for next month. So thank you.
Yeah, please keep us in the loop, Lisa. We're always welcome to help out anytime we have. All right. Thank you to our viewers and our listeners. Please reach out and you know, stay tuned for our next episode coming up next month. Thank you.
Bye-bye.